Welcome everyone to our student webinar for the 2026 Schweickart Prize. It's great to see you all online today and thank you for joining. So with that, we've got a lot to cover and I will pass it over to Rusty, who will introduce you to our team.
Okay, again, thanks you everyone for attending today's webinar. We're so excited to see so much interest in the Schweickart Prize. To start things off, I'd like to introduce the team who will be managing the prize this year. I am Rusty Schweickart, Schweickart Prize Chair and son of Apollo 9 astronaut Rusty Schweickart. My twin brother Randy is co-chair of the prize. He and I lead the development of the Schweickart Prize selection process and ultimately execute the process to determine the prize winner. Joining us from the B612 Foundation to help manage the program is Delphine, who you've just heard from. Most of the communications you have and will receive in the future will be coming from her. Also joining us today is Jordan Stone, the team leader of the 2025 Schweickart Prize. You'll get to hear more about his experience with the application later in the presentation. And finally, also joining us is B612 co-founder and former astronaut Rusty Schweickart. Hi, Dad. Would you like to give us a few words?
Well, sure. Welcome to everyone, of course. And this is a pretty exciting time for planetary defense in that the Rubin telescope is about to come online. And in just a few months, if not sooner, essentially double at least the number of asteroids that we know about, near Earth asteroids that we know about. So it's a very exciting time. We've also got a lot of interest around the world right now in this whole subject. It is somewhat related to other issues like potential asteroid mining in the future. But in this particular case, what we're really interested in is your ideas, concepts, forward-looking big ideas to help extend the duration of life here on Earth by avoiding future asteroid impacts. So we'll be talking about that in the future. Have your questions ready. We're looking forward to hearing from you. Back to you, Rusty.
Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, inspired by Danica Remy, CEO of the B612 Foundation, and Nancy Ramsey, Rusty's adoring wife, my brother and I, and our wives with several others from the B612 community, founded the Schweickart Prize to honor Rusty and establish a lasting tribute to him in the form of an award that would inspire the next generation of planetary defense experts and advocates. You can see here what the prize includes. Yes, that's a real meteorite. And I imagine that if you ask Jordan, he can tell you about the many amazing contacts he's been able to make since receiving the award. While there is only a single winner each year, we expect that the research and learning that is done to generate a proposal for the Schweickart Prize will encourage many of you to pursue careers that will ultimately benefit planetary defense. To further encourage and support our best applicants, we will be awarding honorable mentions to the runner-up proposals that the selection committee determines to be deserving of recognition. These individuals or teams will receive a certificate and will be put in contact with subject matter experts to further develop the ideas in their proposals. Next slide.
Hi, everyone. I'm Randy, Rusty's twin brother. I am happy to have you here. Great to see you all online. What I'm going to cover is the 2026 application process for the Schweickart Prize. There are three basic phases to the Schweickart Prize selection process. Phase one consists of a simple pre-application form that the applicant completes to provide the team with basic identification information. This phase is currently open, and we'd love for you to please go fill out the form on the Schweickart Prize website. We've simplified the form to try to encourage students to rapidly complete this step. Students can apply as an individual or as a group. We ask that in the case of a group application, all members are identified and a single team lead is designated as the primary contact. We also request that a mentor is identified for the applicant or group to ensure they have a knowledgeable guide or expert to lead the team. Teams must be limited to 6 members in total. So that was a question that had come up earlier. We'd like to keep it to 6 members or less. A recurring question for the previous year was the qualifications of the team members. The team leader must be an active graduate professional school student or have received their degree in the past year, that is in 2025. So we're trying to keep it as simple as possible. If you have your graduated in 2025, it's perfectly fine to apply this year for the 2026 prize. The rest of the team members can be undergraduate or fellow graduate students. They must be currently enrolled in a program. Phase 2 is submission of the full application package. Note that the deadline for this submission is February 4th. We request that the applicants provide 2 separate letters of recommendation. One would typically be provided by an advisor or mentor focusing on the career aspirations and leadership potential of the applicant. In the case of a group, this would typically be the team lead. The second should be provided by an expert in the field of the applicant, or preferably the proposal that the applicant is submitting. This adds weight to the proposed topic and ensures oversight by a subject matter expert. Second item in this application is, and the core part of the application, is a 500-word proposal describing a solution to one of the key challenges in planetary defense. Proposals may include figures and tables. Captions, references, and links do not apply to the word count. We'll talk a bit more about the proposal on the next slide. A third item, the successful applicant will also be selected for their potential for leadership, academic merit, and commitment to furthering their proposal. In support of these aspects, applicants are asked to provide a 250-word career aspiration statement and a copy of their academic records. Phase 3 of the selection process is only applicable to a set of finalists chosen from the full set of applicants. This phase consists of a set of video conference interviews by the selection committee with each finalist. Finalists answer questions from the selection committee about their project and respond to critiques and suggestions for strengthening their proposal. Finalists are then requested to submit a final version of their application incorporating ideas and comments from the interview discussion. This final version is allowed to be up to twice the length of the original proposal. We anticipate that the finalist interviews will be conducted April 1st through 3rd, with the final proposal submissions being due on or before April 17th this year. The prize winner and all other finalists will be notified about the award decision at the end of April. This will allow enough time to prepare for the public announcement of the Schweickart Prize winner on Asteroid Day, June 30th, 2026. After some review and discussion, we've decided that the 2026 Schweickart Prize will be open to proposals from all disciplines related to planetary defense. We'd had some discussions about the possibility of focusing the proposal's request on a particular field or a particular topic. We decided against that because we are still building the network and would like to have as many applicants as we can possibly have. So based upon that, we've decided to make sure that the Schweickart Prize is open to all fields related to planetary defense. Next slide. So I thought that would be helpful. Students often want to know what makes a winning proposal. So here's some guidance along with some learnings from the 2025 and 2024 processes. Number 1, be creative. Think outside the box. This is a chance to really get your creative juices flowing. While your dissertation work may be what you know best, extend it, extrapolate it. Don't be afraid to go with something totally unrelated, if that makes sense to you. And some examples we have are 2024 winner, Joe. His sunset proposal was not associated with his dissertation research. In our 2025 winning team, Jordan's team proposal focused on space policy, while the team comes from various academic backgrounds, astronomy, philosophy, and engineering. So don't be afraid to put an idea out there that you aren't necessarily the expert in. Number two, think big. The Schweickart Prize Selection Committee is looking for big ideas. How will your idea impact planetary defense when implemented fully into the future and across the globe? Also, there are many amazing advances in space technologies these days, and proposing novel ways to use and combine these advancements to improve planetary defense is an effective approach to proposal idea generation. Our 2024 winner, Joe, incorporated the use of the Rubin Observatory capabilities and B612's Atom Thor asteroid discovery and verification technology. And this was made a very strong proposal. Number three, emphasize impact over personal executability. And what I mean by that is we are interested in ideas that are actionable or impactful broadly across the planetary defense community, and these are more likely to be selected for further consideration. Don't limit yourself to what you yourself might be able to accomplish. That's not what we're looking for here. We are looking for ideas that the planetary defense community can act on. This is the chance to make the community aware of your great idea. Jordan's team, their proposal had short-term and long-term goals requiring the participation of a host of others. Next, I'd like to have Jordan tell us about his experience with the 2025 Schweickart Prize and provide some guidance for 2026 applicants. Over to you, Jordan.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, so I led the team that won the previous prize. So there were four of us, me, Jim, Yusuf, and Kosuke. So my three pieces of advice, get help, think outside the box, and use numbers and visuals. The first one, get help, I think is probably the most important one. I think like our proposal changed completely throughout the process, mostly because of the feedback we received from experts that we contacted outside and also through members of the B612 Foundation, Randy, Rusty, and Rusty, and Danica as well. And so like, yeah, get help right from the beginning on your initial ideas, find a professor who knows about the stuff and just like send an email. What do you think about this? And then with your proposals as it goes forwards. And I would personally recommend finding teammates, especially if your topic goes into lots of different areas like we did. Like we looked into asteroid mining and planetary defense and space law. So it was good to have like lots of different expertise to work on it. Second would be to back up what Randy was saying, like think outside the box and start by entertaining crazy ideas. So the final proposal needs to be something that's actually going to have a big positive impact in planetary defense. But we started off thinking like, what if we could destabilize, what if like asteroid mining companies are going to destabilize like orbits across the whole asteroid belt? Turns out they're not going to do that. But like based on that crazy idea, we started narrowing it down to what's more realistic. So just starting with something and just, yeah, start writing it and building it with advice. And then it comes into something that is more feasible. So don't be afraid to start with something crazy. And generative AI doesn't really help with the Schweickart Prize ideas, I found, because you're supposed to come up with something novel, something that's going to change the game. And generative AI just sort of paraphrases things that already exist. So it isn't quite there yet in helping with ideas for Schweickart Prize. Definitely has its role in developing your proposal. But yeah. And my third one would be to use numbers and visuals to back up what you're saying. So at the bottom left, there's some analysis that Kosuke did in our team to back up what we were saying. We were saying that you might accidentally alter the orbits of asteroids by mining them as they come close to Earth. And so we did actually model that and showed that in our proposal. And then I outlined all the different ways that this might happen through an illustration that I made here. And I think that really helped not just with our proposal in getting ideas forward, but also helped me personally to understand what we were doing by drawing it all out. We also had another diagram where I put in the middle the international organization that we wanted to start, and then with arrows about how it relates to existing international organizations. And that really helped me personally figure out exactly what we're proposing and how it would fit into the existing planetary defense infrastructure. So yeah, use numbers and visuals. So those are my few pieces of advice. Good luck.
Jordan, before you go on, I think it'd be really helpful
Yeah.
if you talked about the creation of your team. Can you talk about who was on your team and then how you guys got together?
Yeah, sure. So I came up with the initial idea for the prize, and it was mostly like there's a problem, which is that asteroid mining companies are planning on mining asteroids that have orbital paths that come really close to Earth. And by mining an asteroid, you might accidentally change its orbit by changing its mass, or by landing on it, or by taking off, or accidentally colliding with it, all these different ways. And so I messaged a group chat I was in, which is part of the Space Generation Advisory Council, and I asked if anyone wanted to join the team. And that's when Jim, who is at the University of Santiago de Compostela, he's a PhD student there and a philosopher, joined the team. And Youssef joined the team as well, who's an astrophysicist, which was really useful because I'm on the planetary science side. So he has a more mathematical mind to figure out this sort of thing. And we started developing the proposal a bit further, figured out what the actual scenarios were. And then I brought Kosuke on board, who's at the same university as me, because he has a background in astrodynamics and asteroid mining, or just like space mining in general. So he was really able to help create those figures that you can see at the bottom left, and yeah, place the proposal in actual like space mining plans. So yeah, the team came together, and then as a team, we ended up coming up with the actual solution that we were proposing within our proposal, which was to create a new international body to oversee this problem and like guidelines and the rest of it and all the details that came in with that. So yeah, I'd really recommend getting a team together because yeah, completely changed what the proposal ended up looking like in the end. Thanks, Randy.
Great. Thanks for the insights, Jordan. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend that you go visit our Schweickart Prize website. There you'll be able to find a wealth of resources to inspire your proposal and to learn about more how planetary defense might correlate with your area of study. So this includes articles on the areas of studies like science and engineering, policy and governments, communications, economic frameworks, and even the social and ethical considerations. But it also includes, you'll get to read Jordan's entire winning proposal, along with Joe's, the winner of the 2024 Schweickart Prize, his winning proposal as well, along with some detailed proposal guidance that we've outlined for you. And so if you have any questions related to the logistics of the prize, like the deadlines, eligibility, and other things like that, feel free to send an email to the info@schweickart.org that you have listed here. And we will get back to you with those answers. However, if you have like questions that may be more specific to your proposal, then we would recommend reaching out to your subject matter expert, since they will be the ones that will probably have the best insight and advice for those. And generally, a lot of the time, that subject matter expert is the person that will be writing one of the letters of recommendation. And so with that in mind, we can open it up for discussion to hear any questions that you have. If you want, feel free to submit your questions through the chat, and I will read those out loud and share that with the team. Or you're also welcome to, you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and ask your questions directly to that. So, and I see we've got a first one in the chat. I don't want to butcher your name, so feel free to unmute yourself if you want, but she was asking if they can have teammates from different universities or even countries, and how many people can be part of the team. So I'll answer the second part. The team can be no more than 6 members. That's the max number of people we can have in the team. But Jordan, your team actually comes from a variety of places, so I don't know if you want to answer that question.
Yeah, you can absolutely have teams from different countries and different universities. So I'm from Imperial. We had Jim Buehler in our team from the University of Santiago de Compostela in Spain. And we had Youssef Saleh in our team. He's an astrophysicist from Cairo University. And then the other person was Kosuke, who was also at Imperial. So we had like 3 different countries and 3 different universities. So yeah, I think that was a huge benefit to us as well, getting those different perspectives.
Yeah, and I will say, out of the other number of teams that did apply in the 2025, the majority of them were composed of students from various universities. There were also a couple of them where they were some undergraduates that were part of the team. So as Randy had mentioned before, undergraduates are welcome to apply as long as they are part of a team whose team leader is a graduate student. Great, we got a question from Carmen. My research has not been supervised by a professor from my university, but an outside professor. Yeah, that's perfectly fine to mention him. I believe as long as they, if they're going to be the ones writing your letter of recommendation and all that, shouldn't be a problem. Did you have any follow-up on that, Randy or Rusty?
Yeah, I would just say that we like to have two types of recommendations. One would be perhaps whoever is your thesis advisors or whatever, who may just know you and the career that you have planned, would talk more about you or the leader of the team. And then we do very much like to have someone who is directing the research, perhaps, or a mentor that's guiding you on the research that you're doing. So this would be perfect in my mind as a person who is your technical mentor, if you will, and would therefore provide perhaps the letter of recommendation from that technical standpoint. So perfectly fine, yes.
Great. And then we had a question from Mika, sorry. And he's asking if the proposals are expected to be related to the planetary defense specifically, or if it could be more generally related to small bodies, such as proposal that explores asteroid mining or just pure science of asteroids.
Do you want to take that one?
Sure. And it's very interesting because it's a very similar theme that we get is people have their thesis and they have very interesting and very in-depth research on their thesis, but we are specifically looking for something in the area of planetary defense. So no, we really don't want to know. Yes, your thesis is great, but that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is specifically something related to planetary defense.
The applicability go ahead, Dad.
Yeah, I was just going to say, but planetary defense is a much broader field than you might imagine, and it ranges from philosophy, international politics, the technical aspects of discovery and prediction, etc. It's a very, very broad field, and I should definitely mention law. I mean, there's a tremendous amount of international and specifically space law that's involved in planetary defense as well. In fact, the most difficult things, if you get really looking at it, in planetary defense becoming a successful endeavor is going to be the non-technical issues involved in it. The technical issues are very important. They're very real. There's a lot of discovery to be made there also. But technically, the challenge is going to be met well before the geopolitical and larger view.
I will also add to that the way to look at this, I mean, there is huge overlaps in what technologies will be required for asteroid mining, for example, and planetary defense, mitigations, and so forth. So what I would just simply do, whether it's a pure science aspect or it's mining, for example, just take the aspect that overlaps associated with planetary defense and focus on that particular aspect. We love seeing great ideas. Just make sure that the applicability to planetary defense is the aspect that we are most interested in. Actionable, again, we're looking for actionable improvement in the ability to protect against asteroids, impacts, and so forth. So I would say don't interpret what we're saying is to don't do this, but if you just find out what aspect is more associated with planetary defense per se.
Great. And then we gotta have another question from Gazale, asking if it is mandatory for all team members to be students, or can non-student collaborators also participate in the project? I will say right now, this is we do require all the team members to be students. At most, if one of your team members is a recent postgrad, as in they graduated in the year of 2025, they're welcome to participate. But yes, we do require them to be students.
However, we should say we are certainly welcoming the participant to get information from experts, right? We
Yeah.
hoping that they do have a expert as their um, uh, person that helps them understand and decide how to put their proposal together. So we don't want to say you can't have an expert involved. It's just the participants in the proposal itself need to be students.
Yeah, Lisa, go for it. You've got your hand raised.
I have two questions. They are mostly pertaining to the first part of the application process, like the pre-application. One of the application processes requires you to pick a subject area. Is that flexible? Right? Is that just for information gathering, or is that a hard set subject area that you are going to go into your proposal with that subject area?
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't, there's nothing that's going to, limit you. If I, just pick something that would be likely. And if you come up with an idea that's different than what you put in your pre-proposal, that's not going to be a problem. So yeah, I would say that's just for information purposes. It doesn't restrict you to whatever you want to change your mind and propose later on.
Cool. The second half has to do with the team. So for example, if you assemble a team later than the application process, is that sort of allowable, or are you sort of locking yourself into whatever team or individual you sign up with?
Delphine, how do people modify their applications as the team develops?
so from previous years, well, I will actually, I'll say that our 2025 had saw a big increase in team applications, of which those were pretty from the moment they like pre-submitted their um application, it was already pretty straightforward, or they kept to the same topic. Um, I will say, I mean, I think we're open as long as the you submit the application by the deadline, and make sure that the application is complete with the letters of recommendation, the proposal, and all that sort. So we're pretty flexible on that end.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear as you begin investigating a particular element of planetary defense, you may in fact realize that you need to supplement what your pre-existing team is can specialize or can really inform. So I think as long as you have created the team and that is the team of the final proposal, I think that's just fine.
Okay, thank you.
Um, Great. And then we had another question from Gazale. Can applicants continue developing their proposed idea after submission, or should the work remain unchanged during the evaluation period? Additionally, if the proposal is not selected as a winner, is there any possibility of future collaboration or budget support from the Schweickart Prize team or B612 Foundation to help continue developing that idea? So I'll answer the first part of that question. Yes, you're very more than welcome to continue working and developing that proposed idea. In fact, that is both what Joe and Jordan have done, with the especially with the connections and the people that we've been able to introduce to this project. So yes, you're definitely, and it's encouraged that you keep developing that idea. And Randy, I don't know, or Rusty, do you want to answer that second part of the question?
I think this probably Danica would be the perfect person to answer this, but I would say what I think that we would love to provide, and we especially do it with the winner and also the honorable mention winners, is to provide contacts. That's the key thing that B612 has, Schweickart Prize has, that Rusty Schweickart, the astronaut, has, are this amazing network of planetary defense experts. And so that is the absolute aspect that we can and will provide are links to those people, introductions to global experts in the field of what you're proposing. In terms of funding, that is not something that B6, it's a very small organization, so it's not something that we would do. In fact, we kind of tell people that the ideas we want you to come up with are millions and billions dollars of research and investment required to make happen, and yet our prize is a 10,000 prize. And so we're not looking to really support the execution of a proposal per se. We want the prize and the money, of course, to support you and your career advancement and so forth. But there wouldn't be any monetary support necessarily for the execution of the proposal.
Yeah, I'll just follow up on that. That is correct. The prize winning funds are the extent of the funds. And we do a global press conference to unveil you, your team, and your ideas. And it is your responsibility, we hope that you will take to help advance that idea into its further being. Jordan, I think you could probably talk a little bit about what that felt like in terms of support after you received we had the press conference and you started talking to people. You want to just talk about like the value of the network? That is what B612 and the Schweickart Prize and this community of people who believe in planetary defense are going to be offering to the winners.
Yeah, definitely. No, it was really awesome. Like after I won the prize, I got introduced to loads of amazing people, like through B612 directly, and then also through Bob, who they introduced me to as well. And so that's led to like so many different opportunities and development of those ideas. So I'm really pushing forward the idea that we had in the proposal now. And so we've ended up having it in a white paper going to UK government. I've gone to China to present the idea, and I'm also presenting it at a conference in the UK at the end of the month. And so like all these like next steps just flow out of like doing the prize and being introduced to all these amazing people. So yeah, it's really huge impact to have all those connections.
And I would add, we also want to shine a spotlight on our runners-up, the people who receive honorary mention. And so, these are the kinds of things that people would put on their CVs, that they were either a winner or a runner-up. We hope and anticipate over time that this kind of recognition will be very important for the applicants in their future professional development, whether you win or you're a runner-up.
Yeah, go ahead, Gazale. Correct me again if I'm
Yes,
saying the name
hello.
wrong.
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Thanks from all. Yes, my name is Ghazale, and nice really to meet you. I have a question from Jordan regarding the challengeable time that he passed with his team. So, can you a little bit share your experience from the first moment you got the idea, and were you the first person you got the idea and shared with your teammates? And can you explain a little bit about your previous experience?
Yeah, sure. So I had the original idea. It was very different from like how it turned out in the end. So I had the idea that yeah, you can alter the orbits of asteroids by going up to them and mining them. And so I was in a group chat with the Space Generation Advisory Council. So they have a load of different projects that people are working on. And I was in a WhatsApp group with those people, and I posted the idea into that group chat. And I was like, does anyone want to collaborate on this? And that's when Jim and Youssef got in contact, and so they started like collaborating. We developed the idea a bit, and then we realized that we needed someone who knew about astrodynamics and like space mining. So I knew someone at Imperial, so that's when Kosuke got on board as well. So yeah, when I had the initial idea, it was basically just like I had a problem that needed to be solved, and so I brought on like my teammates to help me solve that problem, and we ended up coming up with the panel together. I think in terms of timeline, I came up with the idea probably like early January, like or a month before it was due. And then so everything was like quite quick, like getting the teammates on board and then yeah, writing the proposal together and submitting it. I think we wrote the first proposal like within a week because we wanted to make sure we had enough time to get some feedback on that proposal.
So sorry. So how long did it take that you managed everything for the
So
competition?
so a month, like a week of fumbling about trying to find teammates and developing the idea a bit, and then another week to like write it and develop it. Maybe well, maybe like 1 or 2 weeks for that, and then reviewing it from like a few experts. So 3 or 4 weeks in total. I would
Okay,
recommend probably
thanks.
starting earlier than we did.
Yeah.
Students never start early.
Um, Great. I'd actually would want to follow up on Jordan's comments for you, Rusty, the elder. If you what was your sort of like your first impression of reading his proposal and what that made you think about its connection to planetary defense?
Yeah, I think it's been very interesting seeing proposals come in. And as Randy was indicating earlier, some of them, frankly, are, at least in the early first and second year, were really not even related to planetary defense. Almost everybody submitted something that they were doing at the time, studying. So a lot of that went away, but clearly, and Jordan's was a good example. Joe as well with the 2024 prize. Um, we end up with a teleconference with you if you make the initial cut. And I think Jordan will acknowledge that there is a lot of evolution in an idea once you begin rubbing it up against people who have been really deeply involved in planetary defense. And so that's a very natural process of growth and development of an idea, the interaction after you submit the initial proposal. So don't worry too much about the details. The concept is what we're really looking for. Any planetary defense concept which is going to make a real difference in our long-term ability to protect life on Earth from impacts starts with an idea. That's the beginning of every real initiative that makes a difference. So you're not expected to be able to either accomplish it yourself or even really go have at the outset all of the level of detail that will evolve if your idea is worth exploring. So it's the value of the fundamental idea that you come out with in terms of significant improvement in planetary defense.
Great, thank you, Rusty. And just as we mentioned before, I mean, planetary defense is not only a technical subject where it's like engineering, it also involves a lot of different subjects like law, ethics, and even, philosophy. I think you can definitely find a connection to planetary defense there as well. So, um, great. Any other questions? Um,
So the sorry, without
so far?
raising the hand. So the thing is, it should not be realistic. Yes, something.
Well, it should ultimately be feasible, but that
Yes.
does not mean you need to be able to do it yourself. Uh, uh, but there are a number of ideas that I've had people haven't submitted much on, but which are very long term. It doesn't have to be short term either. I mean, I've had a couple of ideas which are, you're talking thousands of years before it would effectively make a real difference. We're talking about reworking the fundamental clockwork of the solar system. That's what planetary defense is, and reworking that clockwork such that life, the sustenance of life in the long term, is enhanced here on Earth. Yeah, you're not expected to be able to do this yourself to fund it or anything else, but coming up with a concept which will make, if implemented, a big change is what we're looking for.
And I'll just add that there is some feasibility aspect that we are interested in. I mean, we love amazing ideas and big ideas, and as Dad was saying, futuristic ideas. But we absolutely will be consulting with experts in the field to say, does this really make sense? So I mean, so there is a feasibility aspect that we want to make sure that that is there. And in fact, if you could bolster, what you have proposed with some information from some experts in the field, that makes it, that much stronger to be there. So like I said, we do like big ideas, we like futuristic ideas, but we like some sort of tethering to reality that makes it legitimate.
Violating the laws of nature, not to be allowed.
Yes.
Thanks a lot for today. Bye.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
There was just a question from Mika. How many applicants were there on the previous years? So last year we received a total of 17 applications. This, of course, was from students worldwide. I would probably say out of those 17 applications, maybe about 40 to 50% were from teams composed of various universities, and which was a very big improvement from the first year where we had started with 8 applications. So hopefully the number of applications will keep going up, and we'll get more students interested.
Yeah, and I would just add that, planetary defense is understood by a very, very small field. And so every one of you on this call are now part of that field because we're asking you to think about how you might bring something to that field in the future. And so, we anticipate this is going to grow over the years as technology and humanity's awareness realizes it's actually something we could do something about. So you have all been now officially dubbed planetary defense ambassadors. So we want you to go out and tell your friends that you're thinking about this idea and get them to think about the idea as well.
Well, I guess I'll start it off. There was a question yesterday that was asking Jordan sort of the timeline of his how long it really took him, as you mentioned, to pull the team together and develop the proposal. So Jordan, did you want to speak a bit about the actual timeline of the application?
Yeah, sure. So I think I noticed the Schweickart Prize a lot later than most people did. Like I noticed it way after these webinars had happened. I think like maybe 4 weeks before the deadline, I got an email about it through my inbox. And I had some ideas that were floating around that were like sort of in their infant level. And with that idea is when I messaged that group chat and I was like, I have this idea and the Schweickart Prize looks really cool. Does anyone want to join a team and start working on it? And so maybe it took me like a few days to get to that point because I did some like brainstorming of different ideas. And then maybe it took about a week for us to develop the proposal a bit more and bring Kosuke on board. And by that point, we had maybe like 2.5 weeks. So we spent about a week and a half putting together the 500-word proposal, developing it. We did it on a Google Doc together. And then, yeah, I basically wanted to get it done at least a week before the deadline so that I could send it around to people for advice. So I knew someone in space law, and there are some professors at Imperial where I'm based who know about planetary defense. So I wanted to send it to them as well for advice. And I got loads of advice, like as much as I possibly could before we submitted that proposal. So yeah, that was, and then like 3 days or 4 days before, I think we all came together and revised it based on that feedback and then ended up sending it. So yeah, I would recommend starting a lot sooner than we did. Like I'd leave at least 2 or 3 weeks for like review time so you can send it to people because they might be on holiday or something and you might not get feedback in time. So yeah, definitely try and start it at least a month or a month and a bit beforehand.
Great, thanks, Jordan. And so it looks like Lucas submitted a question about saying 500 words is not a lot of talk about quite complex ideas. Any advice on condensing them down, and what level of detail is expected?
So I'll answer that. That's a fantastic question, Lucas. The reason for our 500-word limit is that we're really looking for a summary. We're not looking for the actual dissertation, perhaps, of the idea. And so, what I would recommend is to make sure that you're capturing the essence of what your idea is. As Jordan had mentioned, it's always good to provide graphics that get into some of the details. And as we said, the captions that are in the graphics are not counted in that 500 word limit. So you can capture a lot of detail in those. The other thing that we would say is, put references. We'd like to see lots of references. If you have references, that's great. If you have references that support the idea from someone else, that's fantastic. So those are the ways that we would say, capture the essence of what you're proposing in the 500 words, utilize the graphics, utilize your captions, utilize your references and so forth to direct us. I mean, we will absolutely go to those places. So to direct us to those papers and professors and so forth that support what your idea is about. So it is a challenge. I totally agree. Jordan can probably talk to that to try to get everything in 500 words. But again, the point we're trying to make is to not, we're not looking for this dissertation. Reference your dissertation if that's what supports it, right? Thanks.
Yeah, so to add on to that, like it was an absolute nightmare to get it into 500 words. Like, so we started off with maybe like 3 or 4 pages for our 500 word proposal. We had a lot of detail that we wanted to put in there. And so, yeah, it was quite hard to get it down. But in the end, like that 500 word proposal that we came up with, I think was really good. We basically, I think we started by stating the problem and then what our solution would be in like vague terms. And so I think it was like 3 main sections. This is the problem. This is like our preliminary like solution, and then like sort of conclusions and stuff. And so yeah, capturing that essence. And then so in the second proposal, basically all it included was how we were gonna implement it. And it was like all that extra length came in there. And if you read that final proposal, you'll see like we really took advantage of the figures not being in the word count. I think we ended up with like 3 or 4 different figures. So definitely take advantage of that. And in our first proposal, we only had that illustration with all the different like ways you could alter an asteroid's orbit, because originally that was really long. We were explaining each one in turn. So just having them all visualized at once was really useful. So yeah, just try and get the main point across.
Great. And so it looks like Jake sent in a question on the emphasize impact over executability. Is executability important at all? Would it be positive if recommendations letter from members of the broad NEO community emphasize community buy-in to an idea or proposal?
Yeah, of course, the executability is important. Impact, they're both very important, but getting input from members of the community is definitely one thing we want to hear. And actually, we would hope that the proposal would excite others in the community to comment on it. As Jordan mentioned sending it out to folks to comment on. Let's see.
I think the key thing about the executability, I'd just like to say is, the that you can execute it is not important, right? That it can be executed, that is, it is feasible. We'd love to see to make sure that it's a truly feasible idea. So that kind of executability is important. But that there's some chance that you could execute it, readily or something like that. That will have less of an importance to the selection committee than the impact that it would have on planetary defense. So I think the feasibility is important, but that you can execute it particularly isn't that key to our assessment.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize what we're looking for is big new ideas. And as we talked about references, it's not really useful to pick something that somebody else has already expounded on as something that ought to be done and then put it in your own words. That's not what we're looking for. If you want to take an extension of a great idea somebody else has had, that's fine. But we're looking for new ideas which, if executed in the long run, not necessarily by you, but by the community, would make a major difference in the effectiveness of planetary defense in the future.
Great. And following up on that topic, I know both Jordan and Joe, their proposals are still ongoing projects. It's not like they developed this proposal purely just for the application. And so,
Right.
Jordan, did you want to say a couple of words about the connections and the sort of outreach that you were able to benefit from once through the Schweickart Prize?
Yeah, definitely. My inbox went crazy after winning the Schweickart Prize. So Danica and the rest of the folks at B612 introduced me to loads of experts in planetary defense, like from around the world. So that was like absolutely amazing. And we really developed the proposal a lot. So I've been talking to people in the UK about sending some of the stuff to UK government. And I've also been trying to get a working group formed to like build on our proposals through an international NGO. And so like yeah, we really like those connections really just like led to all this other stuff. And I went to China to present about this stuff that the Schweickart Prize was all about, presenting in the UK at the end of the month at another conference. So there's really like a momentum that forms after winning the Schweickart Prize, and you can really ride that wave if you want to. And so yeah, the proposal has been developed a lot since winning the prize. If I looked at the proposal again, I'd probably disagree with some of it. I don't I haven't looked at it in a while. So yeah, definitely, yeah, it's an ongoing process, isn't it?
Yeah, and this, as we mentioned before, we will also be doing honorable mentions up to 3 every year. And these honorable mentions also get the opportunity to expand on their project and connect with some experts in the field. In fact, there was one of them, Nitya. She was able to, and she's still working on her proposal as well. So yes, there are a lot of potential connections in the future for this. All right, any other questions? Great. Well, with that, if you have any follow-up questions to the webinar, again, feel free to send those over to info@schweickart.org. These
I'm going to say we look forward to reading all of your ideas. We're very excited that you're here today.
Have a great
Thanks,
rest of your
everyone.
day.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Jordan.
Thank you.
Cheers, Danica.